Our facilitator for this training is going to be Benedict Sagoe, a system administrator with GDNR, Ghana Domain Name Registry. Benedict, please, if you can hear me, can you unmute and speak? I think he's going to join us online. Benedict, please, can you hear me? Okay. Yes, I think it's audible now, but maybe you could increase your voice a bit.
Yeah, I believe it's now better.
Yes, I think it's okay now. You can go ahead, please.
Okay, thank you very much. Please, can you give me access to share my screen? Yes, thank you. I have it now. Okay, thank you once again. And I believe the chocolate, they will reserve mine for me. It's unfortunate I can't join in person because I have to travel.
Don't worry.
But that's okay, she reserve for me.
Very important.
So, my name is Benedict Sagoe, like the moderator said, and I'm going to take you through understanding the CCTLD registry operations, what they do, and then how they work. So I'm doing this on behalf of Ghana Domain Name Registry. So it will be a straightforward discussion or presentation after we take the questions. So the definition of what CCTLD is, like you can see on the screen, CCTLD basically means a country code top level domain, and it's the internet ending for a specific country or a territory. So if you say top level domain name for a country, we are basically talking about the names that represent a country. And on the screen you can see .uk, which represents United Kingdom. We have the .jp for Japan. We have .br for Brazil. We have .bj for Benin. We have .ng for Nigeria, and then our own Ghana, we have the .gh. So most of the time when you see a name, maybe kwame.com.gh, ghana.gov.gh, and then the passport.gov.gh. Those are the common names that we mostly see here. So we will go and then ask what a CCTLD registry is or what they do. So like any other registry service, the CCTLDs are responsible for managing the domain name space, that is the country level domain name space. So they are the organization that manages all domain names under a specific CCTLD. So when we talk about .uk, we have a company called Nomnet that manages the .uk. Then we have Kenik manages the .ke for Kenya. And then Ghana, we are undergoing a transition, and GDNR is mandated to manage the .gh domain name space after the process is completed. And why do they do that? We allocate country code domain name for countries to serve as a point of a source of truth or a central source for the domain name extension. When you want the domain name code, because we want to have a central place that you can get a domain name. When you have an issue, dispute issue, there's a place you can go to. When there's a domain that you think the name is similar to your trademark and you want to redress, a place that you can go. And then because with the country code, we want it to be trusted. What we do is you can go to .com and then register just any name and then nobody knows who you are. But when you register with the country code, there are some basic information that ensure that the person or the organization exists, not just in the virtual space, but also in the physical space as well. And because of that, they provide what we call the data integrity. Their main job is to keep the database of domains as accurate as possible and also make them available when it is requested for. So like I said earlier, when you want to know information about ug.edu.gh, it is easy for us to get it for you that this domain is registered by University of Ghana at this period, and then main administrator is this person. So if there's any challenge and that needs to be addressed, you can easily walk to them or you can go to them. Unlike the .com that sometimes you ask for the information is available, but the information doesn't point to a person that you can say, oh, this is the person who's running behind the .com domain name. And then we come to the key players of the CCTLD space. First, we have the registry, like I initially explained. The registries are the people who basically manage the database and then the DNS infrastructure and then services. So here we have the example like the UK, the .gh, and then the .ng. And we have what we call the registrar. In ordinary e-commerce or ordinary commerce or business sense, we say that the registrars are the middlemen, if you like the connection things. Else, you say that they are the wholesalers of the domain names. So we have some people like the GoDaddy, that people go there to buy a domain. Basically, they are not the registry. They are registrars. They just sell the domain on behalf of VeriSign. So they just sell the domain and they make money out of it. In Ghana here, a typical example is the NITA. NITA is responsible for the registration of .gov.gh. So anything you see .gov.gh, or if you work for a government institution and you want a domain to be registered for you, the place you have to go to is go to NITA and then ask for the domain, and they will register the .gov.gh for you. With the .com.gh, you go to Ghana.com to get that registered. So in Ghana, we have the Ghana.com as the only registrar accredited by ICANN to sell or to sell domain names and also sell the .gh as well. And then we have the users. The users are basically you and I, the ordinary person who use the website or email services. We are just the users. And then we have the registrant. The registrant is the person who made the request, or the person who bought the domain, or the person who registered for the domain name, or the CCTLD domain extension. So the registrant is the person who owns it. And the users are the ordinary people who go to the internet and then use it. That's why we are presenting it with Globe. Because anybody, anywhere in the world can access these services, no matter your location. And then when it comes to the core registry functions, or the domain name registry functions, like in the earlier discussion, I mentioned that they manage the database of the registry. And this database is not just the person's information, but also the who is record to know where the name servers even sit. And then the IP informations are all part of the database that are managed by the registry. They also manage the DNS operations. That is the DNS servers or the DNS systems or the services that we mostly refer to. And this registry, what they do is they operate the domain name service for the CCTLD. So they turn the domain names, like what we see, kwame.gh, or when you go to nita.gov.gh or parliament.gh, it's just not the name. But at the registry level, these names point to an IP address or a set of numbers that are understood by the machines or the computers. So they manage the translation of this or resolving of those domain names to an IP addresses that the computers can easily understand, or computers also use to share resources. So that's what they do. And then the registry also is responsible for registration management. So they set up the rules for domain registration. Like typically in Ghana, before you can register a .com.gh, you must have a physical presence in Ghana. So if you're a company, your admin contact should be someone who resides in the country. So we call it the local presence, all in the name of making sure that our ecosystem develops, and then we also make sure that the trust that we want to build is sustained and then maintained. And then we also provide the registrar the platform for them to be able to add, update, or delete domain names as and when it is needed. And then they also offer the registrant, which is the person who's buying the domain, the ability to update his or her records through the registrar. Then the registry again is also responsible for setting up policies and compliance. And these policies are not just set by the registry sitting in isolation and then doing it, but they do it with the local governance or local government rules, also in compliance with ICANN, and then sometimes even the ITU requirements or guidance, and then also the local internet community participation. Typically in Ghana, when we are drafting the domain name policies, we have what we call the community engagement, where most of the stakeholders are also brought on board to look at the policies that are available and then also make an input before those policies become something that we use. So, and this are what the registry also ensure that all these players in the ecosystem participate to ensure that the registry represents the country needs and aspirations. The registry operations and then the funding. Who runs the CCTLD registries is question most of the time we get. And this one varies by countries. Every country and in the way the registry is run. In some countries, the government agencies run the registry and they are responsible for the regulations and management of this. In other countries, the government is only responsible for the regulations. And then they have another set of people also who are also there, who basically manage the database. Then some countries also is the universities that run the registry. Some also run it as a non-profit organization. So they give it to the community. I know a typical example in Lebanon is the Internet Society of Lebanon that runs the registry. In other countries, also similar things happen. In Kenya, in Nigeria, is a community of registrars that runs the registry with the government. The government also has an oversight responsibility. In Ghana, what we are also trying to do, or what we are doing, is there's an agency responsible for the regulation and the management, but that agency is not solely government. We say solely government in the sense that government does not set the policies. It is the community and then the local internet stakeholders who come together and then set those policies. And even in the governing board of the registry are derived from the various internet players, the internet service providers, the exchange points, the academia, the civil societies all come together to form what we call the board that manage the operations of the registry. And then we have private companies, like when we go to UK, we have Nominet that runs the registry on behalf of the government. And some countries do that because they don't want the government to be directly responsible for it. And these companies pay a percentage of the domain registration fees to the government, as government has given them that responsibility to run. And we have the community-based organizations. This is where the community come together and say that, typical example, let's say in Ghana, the ISPs, the data centers, the exchange points, the telcos come together that government maybe is not ready to run the registry. So we are coming together to run the registry on behalf of the people. So they get the people full commitment to run it. That's one part that the registry is run. And how does the registry get its funding, or how does the registry operate? What basically the registries, and this one also differ from registry to registry. And one key funding source is the fee that they charge for registrars for each domain that they register. And not just the fee, some registries also even go extent of running an auction. We have some domain names that have premium. So those domain names mostly go with because people want it. Sometimes they are auction, and when they auction, it also attracts a bigger fee. And they get those money as a CD, sometimes as a CD fund to start their operations or to set up the registry. And then also the registrars then charge registrants for the domains. Like I said, the registrars are basically the wholesalers. So they take the domain from the registry and then sell to registrants. And sometimes they add some money to it so that they can also be operational. Some registries also just operate with the donor support from other agencies or from other multinational companies. And this is now not common because most registries, the government or countries have seen its benefit. So they don't mostly allow donor agencies to come and say that, oh, we will pay for this, and then the domain will run without charging any money or having any financial benefits. And then you have the government funding. The government funding mainly comes in when the registries are at the infancy stage. When the registry starts, mostly the money they generate from the registration are not enough to run. So sometimes government steps in to provide them some funding support. Sometimes because of the government policy on digitalization or transforming their local internet space, or because they want to have a sovereignty where there is equal participation, government sometimes subsidize the domain registration fees by also funding the registry so that they can sell it at the barest minimum, or they can compete with the main registrars or like those who sell the .com. Because .com, for example, sells about $10, and the registrars or the CCTD registrars sometimes find it difficult to sell a domain for $10 when in most cases maybe they are running their total domain registration they have is below 5,000, and when they sell at $10, basically it's very difficult for them to sustain their business. So government comes in to support them in that regard. And then we talk about the technical operations and securities that the registries also provide. We say that when it comes to the technical requirements, the registry is a service that has to run 24/7. It doesn't need to go down. And for that matter, it has to be highly reliable. Because the registry which is not reliable goes off anytime. Just imagine you are searching for google.com, and then google.com, you cannot get it. Not that you don't have internet, you have internet. But the DNS server that is supposed to resolve the name to an IP address is not working. And for that matter, you can't access Google. That is what we talk about when we talk about the reliability. At any point in time, when we search for parliament.gh, that service shouldn't go down because the registry servers are down. That service has to be available. Anytime you search for passport.gov.gh, that service has to be there. Anytime you search for jumia.com.gh, that service, the DNS service has to be available. Then they also provide a network infrastructure management. Then we talk about the security challenges of running a registry. The registry basically face what we call how to protect us from the hackers. Because like any other service that we run, sometimes this domain names, IP address can be changed to redirect a user to a different service. And when that happens, it also erodes the trust that the government wants to build in the local digital space. So it's the responsibility of the registry to ensure that these systems are protected from hackers or the impact is minimized. They also prevent the domain hijacking or fraud. When we talk about domain hijacking and fraud, what basically we are talking about is some people intentionally register a domain that looks similar to existing company or a trusted company. And when that happens, it also creates chaos in the ecosystem. Some people also know very well that this company is doing well, but they don't have a website, so they don't have a domain. They intentionally go and buy the domain, watch for the hijacking. They buy it and then sit on it. That they need this amount of money before they release it to the intended owner or the original owner. So the CCT of this also come in because it's at the country level. They have that level of control to say that, okay, this company, when it goes to Registry General, they have a record. So this domain name belongs to them. Then they can easily take those domain names for them, or they can go into a negotiation where each party comes to an agreement and then the person gets the domain, not at an exorbitant fee, but at a reasonable fee that the service has to run. The registries are also responsible for implementing the security protocols. Now, gone are the days that DNS services were not something that the hackers were targeting. So the DNS has been running for more than 30 years without the implementation of the security feature. But it got to a point, the DNS poisoning and all those things started coming in. Man-the-middle attacks and all those things. People changing DNS records so that they can access people's information. So now what has happened is there's also another layer of security on the DNS service, what's called the DNSSEC. And it is the responsibility of the registry to implement this DNSSEC. And this DNSSEC are being implemented all over the world. Ghana is also in the process of implementing DNSSEC. At the moment, we don't have the DNSSEC implemented, but the process has already started. The community engagement is ongoing, and very soon we have that DNSSEC extension also implemented. And this does not go without challenges. So the ongoing challenges we have, or the registries also face, are the constant cyber attack threats, adapting to policy changes and new laws. Policy changes and new laws because now, one of the days, we didn't even have the GDPR, we didn't have the Data Protection Act. All these things are coming in. And sometimes this comes in to say that even though you have the who is record, this set of information shouldn't be available to the public. And then also the public also comes to say that, no, we have a policy which says that if I want this information, it should be available to me. So how do we navigate between these two conflicting needs where the information should be available and the agency or under the also saying that this information shouldn't be available because of one or two reasons. So these are challenges that registries mostly face. And then also keeping system modern and secure. Some countries are even, when the Web3 was introduced, Web3 has made it possible for even an individual to have their own DNS services. And because of these blockchain services, registries are also being forced to at least adopt the blockchain technology and then also the new security measures, which also it's also a key challenge to registries, which may not even have the current infrastructure to run. So it becomes a key challenge. And then one major issue is the domain ownership dispute. When the domain name services started, or when the internet became thing that people wanted to use, or it became a common platform for people to use, first, the issue of dispute was not a key challenge. So people, when you take the .com, for example, sometimes you search for a name, they'll tell you the name is not available. But when you go to your browser and then you type the same name, they will tell you that that domain is owned by somebody and you need to pay like $5,000. Sometimes the domain can go as high as $100,000 for somebody to buy. We know Elon Musk bought the X from PayPal for over $40 million because PayPal were having that X.com and they need to buy it. And we have companies who up to now don't think of the essence of having a domain name. So their names, even in Ghana, their names are being used by another third party for online activity, and they become very good or they make name for themselves. And sometimes these companies who have already registered comes in that, no, this domain name belongs to me, so I must have it or I need it. And this creates a lot of dispute and how to navigate it and then get those names even available to people. A typical example is when you take Google, for example. Google at any country that they operate have a local domain name there. So when it comes to Ghana, sometimes if you want to type google.com, it changes to google.com.gh because Google have seen the essence of having a local presence and they bought that domain name. And they didn't just buy it because it's fun to buy it. Because let's say each country is selling a domain for $70, and we have over 100 countries in the world. So each country, when they buy those names, what are the implications? They buy sometimes to also protect their brand. So in Ghana, for example, Google may not just buy google.com, but they may buy Google with maybe GOUGLE.com.gh. They may buy Google GUUGLE.com.gh. They may buy different combinations, all in the name of protecting their trademark and their brands. And people also come in that, oh, I've also registered Google, but my Google is GUULLE.com.gh. And these things bring a lot of conflict or dispute that these domain name registries have to adopt. And sometimes it takes a toll of them. So these are some of the ongoing challenges that domain name registries face. And again, some people, for example, I can get a .com for $10. Why should I buy .com.gh for $45 or for $20? Or why should I buy .ng? Because I know this internet governance school, the fellows are not only Ghanaians. We have people from US and other countries. So, and this question keep coming, that why should I buy .ng because I'm a Nigerian, or what is the economic value to me as a business owner when I can get a .com for $1 or $10, or sometimes even when you do a hosting for the first 1 or 2 years, they give it to you for free. Some of the key benefits or why the CCC of this matter is, one, they provide local identity. Many a times we provide services that we are looking at our local people participating or local people buying. A typical example, if you sell food online or you sell cars online and you are a Ghanaian company, you want people to know that when they go to maybe mercedes.com.gh, it means they are buying the Mercedes car, which is manufactured in America or which is manufactured in Germany, in Ghana, and the company which is selling it is in Ghana here. So this Mercedes, we are giving it a local identity. The same way we have some brands or you have some product that is, the moment you mention it, people know that this is Ghana or this country. Typical example is Kente. Anywhere in the world, when you mention Kente or you mention Cocoa, it goes with Ghana. So if you e-commerce business and we are selling Kente, why would you go and buy a .com? That can be for any other country. It can be a company that is not even in Ghana, but they may be selling it. But when someone or like these people, the fellows on this call, because you now understand what it does. If we are not in Ghana, we are buying Kente from Ghana, and then you see a domain name that ends with .gh, it gives you that trust that you are buying from Ghana, and because of that, you are buying a Ghanaian-made Kente. So that's why I say that the .gh or the country code or the system gives you the local identity. Again, it also brings community support. Now, like Raymond will tell you, when it comes to the universal acceptance, we are saying that the internet shouldn't be only in the English characters or the Latin characters or the ASCII characters we use. Most countries, China, for example, Taiwan, and all those countries are using their local languages for even their domain names. So you can see a Chinese website, which is only in the Mandarin or the Mandarin language. Sorry if I'm not getting the name right. But so the domain names are also coming in to support the local languages. People for Ghana, we are fortunate to use the English and then even our local languages. Most of the characters are in the Latin characters, so it's easy for us. But when you go to other countries like Ethiopia, that their language is totally different. The person is educated, but in that language, it doesn't need to speak English. How then does the person also participate in the internet space in the language that he understands? So that's why we say that the local language and then the communities are one of the key reasons why we have the CCT of this. And then the trust factor, The same way, Trustfactor, I'll give you a scenario. A Ghanaian company is very unlikely to give you a US telephone number that if you need to reach me, call me on this number. When you know that it's operating in Ghana, it's going to give you a Ghana number which starts with +233 because it's a Ghanaian company and then he wants you to identify him as a Ghanaian company. The same way with the domain names, .gh give you some level of trust that this company exists in Ghana. This company have gone through the local regulation requirements. And if there's any issue, you can go to them. So it gives you that trust factor and then that confidence that if you transact business with them, then you are dealing with the right person or you are dealing with the right thing. And also the internet governance space. The CCTV or this or the registry does not just exist because they want to make money or want to support the national agenda, but they also help to have manage the internet within a country. Now we are talking about digital sovereignty. When Madam Gloria was talking, we were talking about having a digital sovereignty. And you can't have a digital sovereignty without having a CCTLD. Imagine Ghana, we have our data centers, people are running apps, people are running services that we need to support. And those services are run on .com, which means that if I'm searching for, typical example, if I'm searching for GG, and then I go to gg.com, and then for the domain name to be resolved, I have to be routed to US or any other country for it to be resolved before it comes back into Ghana, before you can access the service you said in Ghana. But with the .com.gh, those services are resolved in Ghana. Those services are also retained in Ghana. And then even to the extent that countries that have been able to achieve 70% digital sovereignty or digital autonomy are able to run the services even when the global internet is down or when they cannot access external internet. Typical example, China run most of their services. We know they are WeChat, we know they are a QChat and all the other services that they run. They've been able to replicate all the global services in their country to the extent that sometimes most of them don't need to even know about Google or don't need to know about other countries' services that are running. They consume those services to the extent that they don't have to use the internet, quote and unquote, because all these services are running in their country. So they don't need the undersea cable to connect to a service in US to transfer service. And what are those benefits? What the other benefit that it gives? What those services are hosted locally, the local service providers doesn't need to pay a third-party country who run the undersea cable from Ghana to US to say that for any megabit data that is transmitted over my network or over my cable undersea, you need to pay this amount, which also contributes to internet costs. So most of the time when we talk about the internet costs being high, when we go to the telcos or at the policy level, they will tell you that you are accessing TikTok. TikTok is not hosted in Ghana. You are accessing YouTube. It's not hosted in Ghana. So these telcos also have to pay in dollars to these undersea cable providers for this TikTok that you are accessing to traverse Ghana and go to US, go to Germany, go to China to fetch those services for you to view at your convenience in Ghana. And all these things come at a fee. And then that fee has to be passed on to someone. And who would that fee pass on to? You, the final consumer. So at the end of the day, you say that your internet service is expensive. But anytime you talk about internet service being expensive, then you ask yourself, which services are you consuming? And if the service you are consuming is not a Ghanaian-based service or it's not a country-based services, then you have to understand that the cost basically has to go up for you to access these services. So the registries also work in terms of the internet governance to ensure that some of the policies that will ensure that we achieve digital sovereignty are in place, so that government can also come in and then the policymakers can also be brought on to facilitate these services. So in summary, I would say that CCTLDs registries manage country-specific domains like the .gh, .uk, and then the .de for Germany. Their core jobs is to keep the domain database, run the DNS services, manage registration, and follow policies that have been set by the community or that have been set by the internet stakeholders. They also work with registrars to sell domains to the public. Their operations also require strong technology or technological knowledge, security, and then reliability. So on that, I would say that thank you very much for being good audience because I'm not physically available with you, but I believe you are listening to me and you are enjoying this presentation. And maybe in the next presentation that I will do, I'll be available for us to engage more. But notwithstanding, I will say thank you again to the organizers of this event, which has become part of our core programs that we are always ready to support. EGIGFA, Team EGIGFA has done a very wonderful job. So I would say thank you once again. And then I'll be on standby for any questions that any one of you would like to ask. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Okay, so thank you so much for that insights. Please, do we have any questions for? Okay. No, I saw your hand first. Oh, you want chocolate? Benedict, please, do you have some chocolates for us?
Yes. I have a extra one. So
Okay, no issue.
please provide me the account and then I'll give it to them.
So provide it and then you provide. No problem. Okay. All right. Thank you very much, Benedict. I have two questions. So, are you saying that with the GDNR, if you do not have a brick and mortar, you cannot operate a .gh domain? That's the first question. The second one is...
please, it seems like when we're using the microphone, I find it difficult to hear. So maybe after that, maybe if the moderator can rehash the questions. Thank you.
Okay.
So in your presentation, you made mention that the uptime of those using the .gh, it's very crucial. So I want to find out if under the .gh CCTLD, there are measures in place to ensure that especially government agencies that are using the .gh have their websites always up and running.
Yes, there are measures that are in place. The first one from the registry point is we don't just run one server or one DNS service. We have what we call the secondary servers, and then we also have what we call the hidden servers. The hidden servers are even servers that are not in the country. And then we also have copies of the servers that also sit with other agents or other companies outside Ghana. So these are also to ensure that this service does not go down. If our main server, our primary DNS server goes down, these services can take over and then run. So we are able to restore the main one. And then when we talk about the government services, I want to add more context to it. The government services, to also ensure that their services don't go down, government has also brought a policy that all government services should be hosted locally. So NITA has that mandate, and then we have a national data center that hosts almost all the government services. So if you observe, when last year we had the internet issue, when the undersea cable went down and then you couldn't access our TikTok and Facebook and all those things. Those of you who were using the government services like the ghana.gov.gh and then the NITA service and even our platform, they were available because these are services that are hosted in Ghana. So regardless of what happens to undersea cable or the main connection that are coming to the country, we are still able to run, and then we still are able to run our services. So government services, in terms of mechanism, we have everything in place. Government have put in mechanism to ensure that services don't go down. Government service will only go down when maybe that particular government entity has issue like the SSL issue, has issue like maybe maintenance and all those things. And even when that's happening, the registry is not only about the domain, we also do what we call advisory. So sometimes we step in to advise them on what is happening and the measures that can be taken to address these issues. And sometimes we even go to the extent of providing them the support of migrating their services to these platforms where their hosting has issues. So we make sure that the government services does not go down. In the same way, we also anticipate that no commercial services or individual services or private companies services will go down. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Benedict, for that response. We really appreciate your time as well. Thank you so much, and we hope to see you again. And please don't forget to share a slide with us because our participants need it as well. Thank you so much.